Hi, I'm Andrew with Microsoft, and I've got a presentation for you all today that really brings home the strategy of always on customer service. That's the ability to provide a better customer experience with things like virtual agents and also a seamless handoff into customer service professionals, ultimately resulting in happier customers. Let me begin with a quick story from my own personal family this last holiday season. So we go off to the airport and we make it to our gate on time. But as luck would have it, we're not able to board. Why? Because, well, this flight was canceled. So what do? Well, I've got a couple choices here. First of all, I picked up the phone and I started to get in queue. But this queue time was 45 minutes, and we were in a hurry to get to our destination on time. So, being the savvy customer that I hope that I am, I reach out into the website and I see a document, much like you see on screen here. But it's hard to parse through. There's lots of details and terms and conditions and even exceptions. And ultimately, I still don't know what to do. So I have to pick up the phone and make that call that I tried to avoid in the first place. Now, you look at this, and it's not a great experience, right? And it's not great for the agent either. So, the agent on the other end of the phone, they're probably reading the same document themselves, maybe even opening it for the first time. They're not in any better position to advise me than I am reading this on my own. So, for our conversation today, we're going to talk about how to improve that experience really for everybody involved. And we'll start with this first example, taking that travel update notice and wrapping that into a curated, consultative conversation through a virtual agent. Then we'll flip a coin and we'll go to the agent side and look at what it's like to receive that incoming chat. And also we'll start to talk about how to design a topic and make changes to those virtual agent experiences. And then we'll start to round out the conversation with an example of an employee-facing digital assistant. And towards the end, I've got a few next steps that I'll throw out, and I've also got a special offer. It includes no-cost licensing to select industries, and I look forward to sharing that with you too. So let's get started. What is Power Virtual Agents anyway? Here's a quick overview as we get into the demonstration. I want to share with you first of all that Power Virtual Agents is built on Azure. So what this means is that as you think about doing things like adding intelligence and the ability to recognize images, well, that's available and at your fingertips. Power Virtual Agents is also built on the bot framework. So that means that as you might have a Power Virtual Agent escalate into an Azure bot, there's a world of possibilities for added functionality there. But here's where it really matters the most. It's the Power Platform. So because we're part of the Power Platform, we have this world of connectors available. So here's a quick example. Let's say that you've got a virtual agent on your front page on your website. Maybe it's attached to billing, for example. And you want to be able to send a request out, query your billing system, maybe it's your back office ERP, and get an account balance for your customer, or maybe look at credits due. We can take that information and return it back right into the virtual agent window and answer your customer's question about the refund remaining, all using the preloaded Power connectors. So let's get started in our first scenario. We're going to take that travel notice, those rules and requirements, and we're going to wrap that into a virtual agent conversation. And I'll show you that now. All right, so here we are on a sample customer portal, and this could be attached to any web page or any rebooking site that you might have available. So notice here in the bottom right, we've got the Let's Chat cartridge. Now this is where we're first going to see our Power Virtual Agent, but we'll later on see how this can also be used to connect directly to a live agent as well. So let's see this in action. Now imagine you're me and you're trying to rebook this flight, because your family vacation was just canceled, and I have a question. And we see here an agent will be with you in a moment, and of course a virtual agent is first on deck. And I might type in a question like, hey, I've got questions about my flight to Sydney. And I'll return that, and of course the virtual agent is going through and trying to understand what I'm saying. Now, I want to back this up a couple sentences and point something out. You probably saw it if you were paying close attention here. Notice that I misspelled the word flight. Now, I did that on purpose. And what I want to point out here is that Power Virtual Agents has a natural language model built right into it. I didn't have to add that variation into this topic. It automatically can understand my intention and still get me to the right place. And we see here a lot of information's come back to me, and I can even click in for more details as I need to. But here's the key question. This is making easy work out of those terms and conditions. Was this before a particular date? And I can click yes if it is. Then indeed it comes back with a set of recommendations for you. Now, the other thing I want to point out, and this is really powerful when it comes to virtual agents here as well, is that notice that we've got a few recommendations. We know that when customers or when travelers are asking questions about changing a flight, they probably actually want to go through that rebooking process as well. So let's give them an easy way. In this case, click a button and they can start that rebooking process. Our goal is that a virtual agent is more than just a glorified search box, right? You've got search on your website, for example, already. If all you want is simple questions and answers, then you've got it. Think of a virtual agent as a curated experience. So compare that, of course, with the travel experience that I had initially, right? Quite a difference. Ultimately, this gives me as a customer, as a traveler, a fast and consistent experience. And think about this too. It really starts to offload operational cost. It saves you from having to take an incoming call from one of your customers or a flight of 300 customers that are all calling you at the same time. In this next example, we're going to see how a customer can start to connect with a live agent when they need it. We'll begin the conversation starting inside of the Power Virtual Agents window, and we're going to change this conversation to actually build in an escalation from the virtual agent into a live customer service professional. And then we'll test it out. We'll actually see that incoming chat from the customer onto the agent side. Let's take a look at that now. So here we are inside of the admin side of Power Virtual Agents, and I have all these topics available to me that I've started to load up in my environment, and we're going to focus on this particular topic. This is the one that we saw in the example prior. And you'll notice here too that we have all these topics, trigger phrases that are loaded up here, but notice that I don't have anywhere in these trigger phrases the misspelling of the word flight, because the application and the natural language processing that's built in does all of that for me. So for this example, let's say that I want to make a change to this topic. We see the topic as it's designed so far, and in our example, we went down this pathway of what happens when a user says yes. This was ticketed before a particular date. But here's what I want to point out. Notice that we have a dead end here. What if the ticket was booked after a particular date? We probably want to escalate that to an agent. So let's do that now, and I'll show you how easy that is. So I'll begin by deleting out the dead end as it was, and I'm just going to do something really simple here. Perhaps show a message first. And maybe that message is something along the lines of, let's connect you to an agent. And then at this point, I want to build in a simple transfer. And all I have to do, because this is connected into Dynamics already, and really this is part of the solution in that Dynamics and Power Platform are designed to work together, all I have to do is select Transfer to an Agent. And that will automatically build that into this conversation and give my traveler a simple way to connect with my agents. Let's save that and take a look at it in action. So here we are back in the portal, and I'm going to trigger that same topic. Maybe I'll use a different phrase now, like change flight to Sydney. And this will, of course, trigger that topic that we were just working on. The difference this time around, though, is that we're going to choose no. We're going to say, look, this ticket was booked after the 16th. What do I do now? And when I choose no, it's going to show us those changes that we just made. Hey, let's connect you to an agent. On the agent side, you see here the incoming chat. It shows up in that notification in the upper right. And what I'll point out here is that whether this is a chat from the website, it could be an incoming SMS, or even a Facebook Messenger message, all of this pops for me as an agent in the exact same way. So it's a consistent experience, one that I don't have to get used to in different systems. And I can start to have a conversation like, I'm here to help, for example, and I could even use quick replies to make that even more seamless. And we can have our conversation back and forth. But what I really want to point out here is that I have a world of information at my fingertips as an agent. I have the entire conversation that you see here on the left-hand bar. And this makes it easy for me to understand what's been said back and forth between the virtual agent up to this point. Now I also have the entire customer record as well. And what I'll show you here is that this is more than just a simple conversation that we're having here, because Dynamics really becomes that system of record. I can see the entire history of this particular traveler. For example, I see that there's a current opportunity related to upgrading to the Diamond Club. And I can also see the entire timeline of emails, cases, even chats with other agents, all right here at my fingertips. So this starts to wind down this middle section talking about how to escalate from a virtual agent into a live agent. Ultimately, this means that customers get the best class experience. They get fast and consistent help when they need it, and they get live support from an agent when it really matters. As an agent, this means that I get the complete customer view, and customers, they don't have to repeat themselves. They walk away getting their problem solved faster than they would otherwise. So we're going to wind down into our final leg of our journeys today, an employee-facing digital assistant. So let me give you a sample scenario. Imagine this. Imagine you are a gate agent and you've got a collection of people, hundreds that are trying to load onto your plane. You're already behind schedule, and what's worse is that your gateway or that jet bridge isn't connecting up to your plane. You know there's a reset process to make it work, but you can't remember how to do it. So typically, you pick up the phone, make a call into the internal help desk, and you might be on hold for 5 to 10 minutes. But you remember, just last week you saw an email go out. It said something about Gate Check Virtual Agent, whatever that is now part of Teams. And since you're using Teams every day, it's become the fabric of your operations already. There wasn't any adoption or learning. So you pull up your mobile phone, you pull up Teams, and you start looking around. It's not too hard. You find this new tool that's just been deployed, Virtual Agent. And you start asking it questions. You say, hey, I'm having trouble connecting to the jet bridge. The virtual agent comes back and says, well, great. Have you automatically selected connect? Did you check the beacon override? Did you clear the previous aircraft settings? And now you're able to quickly go through what is a consultative reset process and get your passengers boarded on time. So this starts to wrap up the content that I've scheduled, at least for the demonstration side of this conversation. And we saw here how a gate agent, using a familiar tool like Teams, can immediately get value out of a new investment in, say, Power Virtual Agents, quickly solving their problem through a reset process. As we start to wind down, let me bring to light a few key points as you think about deploying something like Power Virtual Agents and Dynamics together for an always-on strategy of customer service. First of all, there's an incredibly short time to value. Anybody in your business, from a gate agent to a travel manager, can start to build out curated topics inside of Power Virtual Agents. Anybody can design these experiences. It doesn't require code. And because this is part of the Microsoft Power Platform and part of the common data service, so you get the complete customer record, much like you saw in that example of a live customer service professional handling that incoming chat request. So I have two recommendations or thoughts about where to go from here. One, this is easy. You can go out yourselves to powervirtualagents.microsoft.com and in a matter of minutes start building topics on your own and really get a feel for just how easy this is to do. And if you start to have some success there, then let's get back together. Let's build something together. I can help you prove this out, and we can even bring in partners that will help you bring this entire project to life. And the last thing is that special offer that I wanted to share with you. Right now, we have Dynamics for customer service at no cost licensing for up to 6 months. We also have Power Virtual Agents entirely no cost as well for select industries. So as we're winding down from this conversation, and you might be thinking about how am I going to pay for always-on customer service? Here's a thought. Know this, that on average, the industry cost of resolving a ticket with a live agent is roughly $10 per resolution. Now contrast that, for example, with virtual agent. We're looking at about 50 cents per conversation. So that's roughly a 20x decrease of using a virtual agent over a live agent. Now, I'm not going to say that you're going to replace every human with a virtual conversation, but if you can offload just a small piece of those conversations and provide a better customer service experience, well, I think that's a win. So I look forward to answering any questions as you might have them as they come up. Please let me know how I can help you with anything else in your journey, and thank you.